What a season. What a season it was. Manchester United, obviously, we've stepped up massively from what it was last season. And obviously, this season, we started the YouTube channel, and we only go on from here. But anyway, this is your Manchester United season review. So let's get right into the video. So first of all, we'll go over the fixtures, the Premier League, and what Erik Ten Hag actually brought to the club. So as we know, Erik Ten Hag came to the club in July last season and got to work straight away by implementing, he flew over for our last games of the season to review with players leaving, players staying. Erik Ten Hag wanted to get work done early when he was joining, and obviously he left Ajax, they won the league, and he joined Manchester United. And he was seen in the last game of the season against Crystal Palace when we lost 1-0. And he was seen in the stands. He was interviewed a few times, but he said that now it's my turn to show what I'm made of. And since then, Erik Ten Hag has proven that to be the case. He's been methodical. He's been stern. He's laid out his vision. He's laid out his master plan. And considering it's been his only first season, I think he's had an absolute sensational season as Manchester United manager. He's won 41 games in all competitions. He's been absolutely sensational, in my opinion. And I just personally feel like with everything, oh my God, what's happened there? Oh no, there we go. Bloody hell, that's a bit of a messed up. But anyway, with what do you call it? I completely lost my train of thought now. Yes, so with Erik Ten Hag, he's obviously came into Manchester United and laid the ground running. And the start of the season didn't go too well. Obviously, Manchester United lost 2-1 to Brighton on our opening fixture at Old Trafford. But then that was worse to come. We then lost to Brentford in the following game, 4-0 away from home. And that's where the bad results started to shine through from our away form. It was there from the early dawn time of Erik Ten Hag. But then what happened? Let's see, anyone in the comments yet? No one's in the comments. But anyway, with Erik Ten Hag, obviously we lose our first 2 games. Media was on him. The pundits were on him. But the fans knew who they had chose to be their manager. Because if you don't remember, when United were linked to Pochettino, we were linked to all sorts of different managers. The United fans were crying out for Erik Ten Hag. And this is why Erik Ten Hag, I think, appreciates the fan base. And the fan base have built this connection and this bond with Erik Ten Hag because he's our manager. We were at marching at Old Trafford, making protests, wanting Erik Ten Hag, demanding the Glazers for Erik Ten Hag to be appointed as our manager. And we knew that it was only going to get better. Yes, the first 2 games were very troublesome. We didn't play well at all. But then our following game, we beat Liverpool. And then the season kicks off from there because Liverpool, obviously, it was only 2 games into the season. United had lost their first 2 games. We were in the relegation battle because we lost our first 2 games. And Liverpool was our next fixtures. Obviously, Liverpool had a bit of a struggle start to the season. And then Ten Hag goes and beats Liverpool at Old Trafford 2-1. And that's when the season kicks off from there. And Erik Ten Hag eventually starts gradually laying out his plan, bringing in the players that he's brought in obviously the likes of Martinez started straight away, but Tyrell Malacia was a rotation option. Casemiro joined us quite late, same with Antony and Eriksen. And eventually, he started to formate his perfect 11. And obviously, that's been ruined throughout the season due to injuries. Obviously, Eriksen was injured for a part time. Martinez was out for the rest of the season. Varane's had a few injuries. Marcus Rashford. There's been a lot of players with injuries. And I personally feel like that Erik Ten Hag has handled everything really, really well. But anyway, let's get into the main topics. And anyway, if you are new to the stream, make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you are new. Like the video like the video anyway, but please subscribe if you are new. But anyway, the first topic I want to talk about is the Ronaldo situation. And the reason why I titled the title Overrated or Underrated, because so many rival fans say that Erik Ten Hag has had an okay season. He got a £200 million investment in the summer, and he should be getting top 4 with that amount of investment. I can see why rival fans talk like that. But when you have our interim manager in Ralph Rangnick, literally months beforehand, saying that this team needs open heart surgery, at least 9, 10, 11 players, pretty much a new squad needs to be invested into to make Manchester United challenge again. He wasn't wrong, because again this season we've seen players who were here last season, here the season before, who don't play well and are still not a parasite, but they're holding us back and they're stopping us progressing. And I feel like that with Erik Ten Hag's first season, he's done absolutely exceptional. And the Ronaldo situation is a perfect example of that. Erik Ten Hag and Ronaldo obviously didn't get on. Ronaldo obviously wanted to be the star player as always, but Erik Ten Hag, he put his philosophy down straight away that it was his way or no way. He's the boss. If you don't stick to his rules, then you will not play or you will not be picked. And Ronaldo was at fault for that. And I can admit Ronaldo, obviously, his time at Manchester United wasn't the best. Obviously, when his child died, that was obviously a very disturbing moment for Cristiano Ronaldo. And he said in his interview with Piers Morgan that the club didn't show any empathy. They pretty much wanted him to carry on playing football. It was a joke, and Ronaldo was very mistreated, but that wasn't down to Erik Ten Hag's fault. Ronaldo had already built up this rage throughout his time at Manchester United, and I can understand why he was so fuming. But with Erik Ten Hag, Ronaldo slagged him off in the interview with Piers Morgan, and I wasn't a fan of that. And this is where a lot of fans started turning on Cristiano Ronaldo because he was calling out the club. And I personally feel like Ronaldo actually calling out the club was a blessing in disguise. Ronaldo calling out the club was pretty much perfect because it created a snowball effect. Because Ronaldo was removing himself from the equation, but then he was causing chaos at the same time. And within literally 2 weeks, this happens. The Glazers put Manchester United up for sale because the amount of outrage and the amount of backlash they received from the Ronaldo interview was catastrophic. And the Glazers called it up and finally put the club up for sale. But that wasn't the end of it. We're still not been sold now at the current time of recording. But the Glazers, they panicked and they didn't know what to do. But with Cristiano Ronaldo pushing that first tiny ball of snow down the hill, by the time it reached to the bottom of the hill, it was the size of a house, the snowball. It was absolutely catastrophic. And the Glazers felt the wrath of Cristiano Ronaldo because Ronaldo knew what he was doing. He wanted to get himself out of Manchester United, but also wanted to do what needed to be done. And that was him calling out the club, saying that the infrastructure is terrible. There's there's certain players who are just not an actual group of players and just aren't a unity and aren't connected as a true team almost. And Ronaldo's been to teams all over the world and he's played with the best of the best. But what happens? Ronaldo knew what he was doing, in my opinion. Ronaldo knew what he was doing, and he's not a stupid man. I don't think. I think Ronaldo knew what he was doing. But anyway, let's get on to talking about the Glazer sale. Now, obviously, since everything has happened with the Glazers, and it's pretty much since the World Cup, the front runners of the sale of Manchester United seems to be either the Qataris or Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Now, whichever one you prefer, obviously that's your choice. But for me, I'm obviously pro Qatar because I feel like they're like the vision for both of them, I feel like aren't good enough. I feel like they have holes in both the plans, and that's for that's obviously for the sale for the Qataris and the sale for Sir Jim Ratcliffe. But for me, I personally feel like I've lost my window here. One second, guys. Sorry about this. I had all the stats up here, but with everything with Manchester United, I personally feel like that Ronaldo knew what he was doing, and the Qataris and Sir Jim Ratcliffe, they both have visions. They both have holes in their visions of how they want to run the club. But for me, I feel like the Glazers just need to hurry up now. I'm hoping it's done before the transfer window opens. And I don't even know if the transfer window is already open now. It might be. But I'm pretty sure it opens on the 1st of July and it ends on the 31st of August. That's when I think it ends. But why do I have a feeling that it started in June? Let me have a quick look. When does the transfer window open for football? Let's have a quick look. And it says here that summer transfer deadline. It opens on June 14th. So there we go. That's it. So obviously the summer transfer window opens in 9 days at 11 p.m. And it ends at 11 p.m. on the 1st of September. So there we go. So literally just under 3 months for that. So I'm looking forward to seeing it, but I'm really hoping that the Glazers actually get it sold within July time, because I want to have a successful summer. I want to have a good summer where we can progress and bring in the correct players. But for me, I personally feel like that it's not going to happen. I want it to happen, but I don't think it will. I've got to be realistic. And for me, I personally feel like it's because it's the main Glazers. It was Avram and the other one. I can't remember what the other one's called. But Avram and the other one, the Glazers, they don't want to sell the club, but the other siblings do. And realistically, I can see why. And this is why you've got option A and option B. You've got option A with the Qataris saying, we'll buy you out right now, 100% of the club, and we will pay up to $6.5 billion is what's being reported. And you've got Sergeant Ratcliffe's saying that I'll pay about $5 billion for the siblings' shares, keep the Glazers' share. So Sergeant Ratcliffe is buying 51% of the club, so he gets the final say and everything. But he wants to keep Avram and the other Glazer in power, so they obviously are still in our club. And then eventually the deal, after about 3 to 6 years is what's being reported, then Sergeant Ratcliffe will then buy out the Glazers' remaining shares, and that's it. So then eventually the Glazers will earn more money over the period of time. But considering the Glazers are money-grabbing freaks, I personally feel like that's like they should actually want to take the Qatari one, because they're getting guaranteed cash. Because that's what Qataris will pay. They'll pay in cash, not like bank transfer or loan or anything like that. The Qataris have the money ready now, and the Glazers, they need the money, in my opinion. They can have a lovely retirement, or if they want to go start a new sports team in a different sport or in football, whatever, they'll be set for life. And for me, I personally feel like that they're still holding on to it for the investment and dragging it out. But for me, the reason why I am pro Qatar is because you know what they're going to bring to the table. Football is becoming all about money now, and I don't want to be left behind, and I don't want Manchester United to be left behind. And if you want to compete at the highest level, you need money. And unfortunately, that's the way football's become now. It's no longer about passion or the richest man in the UK who is a Manchester United fan who wants to buy the club. Because if you were saying that 5-10 years ago, not even 5-10 years, probably about 10 to 15 years ago, if Sergeant Ratcliffe wanted to buy the club then everyone would be up for it. A United fan wants to buy our club. He knows how he wants to run the club, blah, 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 blah. But what happened? Come on. Football has been ruined by money, and that's exactly what's happened with the Glazer sale. But anyway, continuing on with how Manchester United have progressed through the season. Let me just stop this, for fuck's sake. Oh. What? Oh, sorry about that. My window open. But anyway, United win the Carabao Cup, and that's brilliant. To be honest, we won a trophy. That's our first trophy we've won in 6 years, and we went on to get third place in the league as well. But Carabao Cup winners, I recently watched my Premier League predictions, and I put Manchester United in 6th place. But I said, as long as Erik Ten Hag can get us playing an exciting brand of football, or he actually starts building a proper team, or we go into a deep cup run, I'll be happy, because it shows progression. That's how low our expectations were as Manchester United fans going into this Erik Ten Hag season. He exceeded everyone's expectations. We win the cup. We go into the FA Cup final. We get 3rd place in the Premier League. We go deep into the Europa League. We go deep into pretty much every competition we've been in this season. And Erik Ten Hag has exceeded everyone's expectations this season. So for me, this is why I feel like he's a very underrated manager, because you've got rival fans who say Eddie Howe, Pep Guardiola, Arteta have had much better seasons. De Zerbi of Brighton. You've got De Silva of Fulham. They've had much better seasons than Erik Ten Hag. I have to disagree, because I've seen the progression from what we were to what we are now. And I like what we see. I see progress. Erik Ten Hag is definitely going to get ruthless in the summer transfer window, and hopefully we can actually get the sales done in time. We want to bring in the players early. Obviously, we're linked to Mason Mount, Højlund, Costa, Kim Min Jae. We're linked to so many players, and I personally feel like all them players actually want the moves. And obviously, we've got the big boy striker, Harry Kane, Victor Osimhen, Dusan Vlahovic, Ramos. We have a lot of strikers who are linked to us. And I personally feel like that the transfers that we are linked to, I do like the look of them, but they're not the transfers that I would go for. For me, my ideal transfer window would be getting 2 strikers, one who's got a bunch of experience and understood it, the exceptional striker, whether it's Harry Kane and Højlund or Victor Osimhen and Evan Ferguson. You know what I'm trying to say. Second of all, midfielder. Definitely Rabiot from Juventus. He's a free transfer. He's recently got in the Serie A team of the season. He looks absolutely exceptional. And yes, statistically, with goals and assists, he's not high in that statistic. But he does what he does off the ball and what he does on the ball is absolutely brilliant. So I would definitely sign him. And for a free transfer, he'd be absolutely exceptional at Manchester United. Mason Mount, someone I wouldn't really go for, but he's an upgrade on what we currently have. And that's how you progress as a football club. So I back that signing of Mason Mount. We need another centre-back like a Kim Min Jae or a Timber, someone who can come in when likes of Martinez or Varane are injured, and they still are equally as good as the players we've just lost. And we're not downgrading on Victor Lindelof or Harry Maguire. Now, Victor Lindelof, for me, is a sensational season when he's had to step up and be involved in Manchester United, especially in the end of the season. He's been absolutely brilliant. But I feel like that Lindelof has done so well, he's attracting more attention from other clubs in Europe who are going to give him first-team football, which is what Lindelof wants. But this morning, we've had reports that Spurs want Harry Maguire and Harry Maguire wants Spurs. So get it done. Whether that's a deal for Harry Kane, maybe. I'm not too sure. It's not FIFA. It is real life. But at the end of the day, I would 100% be down to see that transfer happen. I don't want Harry Maguire at our club anymore. And I just feel like that he is a parasite as well. He's a player that's holding us back. And unfortunately, that's the way it is with Harry Maguire. I think he's a good player, but he's not Manchester United quality. And that's the way it's gone, unfortunately, with Harry Maguire. But anyway, let's go on to further ratings. The new signings. Let's talk about the new signings. And we've got 5 of them. We're going to include the loan players, but they're not the proper signings. Tyrell Malacia, Lisandro Martinez, Carlos Casemiro, Christian Eriksen, and Anthony Dos Santos. Them 5 players were Erik Ten Hag's permanent signings last summer. Tyrell Malacia, feel like bringing him as a prospect centre-back. He's done extremely well, in my opinion. I think he's been absolutely brilliant, and that's just my opinion. But also, Lisandro Martinez has completely brought in the pit bull, the aggressive centre-back that United would... United, before this season, seemed to have no characters, in my opinion. And it's gone on to see that... It was gone on to that he is more than just an angry, aggressive centre-back. Because for me, I personally feel like that with Lisandro Martinez, what he's brought to the table, he's absolutely exceptional. He's definitely a fan favourite. Casemiro, United have been crying out for a holding midfielder for so long, and out of nowhere, we signed one of the best holding midfielders in the world because of the outrage of actually signing Rabiot at the time. We go out and get Casemiro, then we go out and get Antony. Like, I'm going to rate him all out of 10 now, but Tyrell Malacia, I'm going to give him a 6, and that's not bad because he has had poor performances and he has had great performances. But a 6 out of 10 for Tyrell Malacia for being a backup left back, I personally feel like that's a very good rating to give him. Lisandro Martinez, I'm going to give him an 8. I feel like that he has been at fault for... I don't think that any of them have been 10 out of 10 signings, but what they've brought to the team have been absolutely exceptional. Lisandro Martinez is definitely one of the highest players ratings that you can give in the new signing department and the entire squad department. Lisandro Martinez has been absolutely brilliant. And so is Casemiro. For me, Casemiro definitely is probably deserved a player of the season. You could argue Marcus Rashford or Sandro Martinez, but for me, I think it's Casemiro. From what he's done, the basic role that he has in the team is so important to a squad. He makes the easy work look world class, and I feel like that's him just showing how good of a player he actually is. Or sorry, he makes the world class things look easy, is what I meant to say. But Casemiro, for me, 9 out of 10. What a sign he's been. And the only reason he doesn't get a 10 out of 10 is because of the suspensions. And I just feel like that he needs to time his challenges, and the red cards were avoidable, in my opinion. So that's why he doesn't get a 10. Eriksen. Now, Eriksen has probably been the only signing that we've made this season on a permanent deal that I haven't liked. And Christian Eriksen, when he first joined, I was like, you know what? Good player. He'll be able to rotate with Bruno Fernandes. That'll give us a lot more going forward, etc., etc., etc. That didn't happen. We didn't bring in Frankie de Jong or a backup centre or another midfielder, or we didn't experiment with Fred or McTominay or anyone like that. Christian Eriksen became a starting 11 member. He was played as a false 9 at the start of his career at Manchester United. He was then moved into a deeper role as a deep line playmaker. Then he was moved to a number 8. Erik Ten Hag properly messed around with Christian Eriksen because he really rates him that highly. Obviously, Eriksen has been all over the world. He's been to teams like Ajax, Tottenham, Inter Milan, Brentford, now Manchester United. And with Eriksen, he has done very well, I think. But for me, I give the rating a 4 out of 10. I feel like his defensive liability, I feel like with the position that Erik Ten Hag is playing him in, is the wrong position. And whether you want to say that's on Eriksen or Erik Ten Hag, Eriksen should be saying that, listen, boss, I don't suit this system. I don't suit this position. Either play me further up the field or make me a rotation player. But no one's going to say that. But for me, Eriksen just isn't it. And unpopular opinion, I would definitely sell Eriksen this summer. I know he's only been here for one season, but he's looking old. He's looking weak. Eriksen is 31 or 30 years old. He is catching on a bit now. And I feel like Eriksen, we took a gamble on. He was one of them signings that has just come out of his prime. Let's see what is a short-term fix just while we're progressing through this rebuild. For me, Eriksen hasn't done enough. And I would sell him, and I would definitely give Van der Beek a chance. And you might be thinking, why are you talking about Van der Beek? Van der Beek for me is a strange one, because Van der Beek, we've had 3 managers now. We've had Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Ralf Rangnick, and obviously Erik Ten Hag. And Van der Beek has not been played by either one. So that's something that's got to be addressed. And sometimes fans are wrong. I am going to admit that. We are wrong. But we see how poorly certain players play. And we want improvement straight away. And I can understand that's impatience. But at the end of the day, I personally feel like Van der Beek is younger. I feel like if he actually got brought back into the club, he would actually be very hungry for them positions and he wants to get involved. But yeah, I personally feel like Van der Beek deserves a chance over Eriksen. So let me know what you think of that in the comments down below. But anyway, if you are this far into the video, this stream, make sure you leave a like on the stream and subscribe if you are new. As well as we'll go into the season ratings, which is the full 11. Actually, no, we forgot another player. I forgot Antony. Antony, I'm going to give a 6 out of 10 as well. Now, unlike Tyrell Malacia, who's brought in as a rotation player, Antony was brought in straight away. His debut was against Arsenal. He scores on his debut. Everyone's buzzing about the Brazilian. Everyone's excited about Antony. The price tag is completely out of the equation. And Antony goes on to score 3 goals in a row in 3 games. Everyone's hyping over him. The player's absolutely exceptional. He's going to be one of our best players, this, and this. Then the consistency hits. And Antony gets found out because he's a very basic player at times. He has that one trick, which is drop his left shoulder, cut in on his left foot, and try and shoots. His creative work isn't good enough. His right foot isn't good enough, and that needs to be developed and that needs to be improved. And I really rate Antony. I rate every single player at Manchester United. But some players I will criticise saying they aren't good enough for Manchester United. I'm not saying they're bad players. I just feel like they're not up to Manchester United quality. But Antony, I am going to give him a 6, and that's because I feel like he's very inconsistent. And I feel like that he will try the same trick 3 or 4 times in a match, and sometimes he gets caught out 3 or 4 times. But that one moment when he dribbles past the defender and it goes in, everyone's celebrating the goal because he only scores bangers. That's all Anthony does. He scores brilliant goals every time. I think he needs to kind of simplify his game a bit more and work on his right foot, work on his creativity, and eventually you'll become a player where defenders are defending against you. And they're like, I don't know what he's going to do. He's going to whip across. Is he going to cut in on his left foot and shoot? Is he going to pass it onto the overlapping fullback? I don't know. And that's what Anthony needs to do. But he's not giving the defenders enough to think about. They know what he's going to do before he even does it because it's so predictable. And I love Anthony. I think he's one of my favourite players. I love the lion that he does for his celebration. He's a fan favourite, and the passion he brings, the backstory behind Anthony is absolutely brilliant, and it's an emotional story. But for me, I personally feel like Anthony is definitely deserving of a 6, but that's just my opinion. Season ratings. Now, we're going to quick fire this, and I'm going to try and keep it as short as possible because we've got a lot of players to run through. And you know what? I'm sorry to keep stalling this, but let's go over the loan players quickly. Dubravka, I completely forgot we had him. I'm going to give him a 1. He hardly played, and when he did, I think he played 2 games in the Europa League, and we lost him or we drew. So for me, Dubravka, terrible signing. Why did we make it? We didn't need him. So yeah, 1. Same with Jack Butland. Jack Butland, I don't know why we got him. We didn't play him once. Guess it was for the backup if needs be. But even when we did play our backup goalkeeper, we played Tom Heaton. So I really don't understand what the signing of Jack Butland was all about. Second of all, Wout Weghorst. I'm going to give Wout Weghorst a 6. Now, considering I've rated Anthony that, and considering I've rated Tyrell Malcia that, the reason Wout Weghorst gets 6 is because of the work rate. And that's something that lacks in the United squad, in my opinion, a lot of work rate. So for me, Wout Weghorst, for me, deserves a 6 because of his work rate alone and the passion he brings when he has scored goals and when he has done right things. He's done all right. And I think the system just doesn't suit Wout Weghorst. And he's coming, he's tried. We lost Cristiano Ronaldo. Martial got injured. Wout Weghorst was brought in to be the backup striker for Martial. Martial kept getting injured. And what happened? Wout Weghorst stepped up and played about 18 games in a row. Martial hasn't been able to do that for 4 seasons now. Play 18 games in a row, up that fit. And that's what Wout Weghorst brought to the table. Yes, the quality isn't there, but you cannot underappreciate what Wout Weghorst has done for this club. He stepped up when needs be. Yes, he hasn't scored a bunch of goals. Yes, he hasn't got many assists, but I appreciate Wout Weghorst, but that's just my opinion. And I think that wherever he goes in the summer, because obviously United aren't renewing the contract with him, I wish him all the best because I feel like that if he goes to a club like an Everton or like a West Ham, where a team actually works around his play style, I think he can get quite a few good goals and he will show why he is a mid-table striker. But I personally feel like that with Wout Weghorst, he will go on to have a very decent ending to his career. He gets picked for the national team for Netherlands and he does score goals for them. So I think whatever club football he goes to, he will do very well. But that's just my opinion. Right, who else was it? Who else did we bring in on loan? Sabitzer. Sabitzer, I'm going to give a 5. Now, for me, Sabitzer did all right, but didn't prove himself. And he got injured 3 times throughout his time at Manchester United. Bayern Munich obviously let him go. And yes, Eriksen did get injured at the time and Sabitzer did come in and do a job. But for me, Sabitzer never really stood out. I was excited for him and he did put in okay performances. But for the price tag that Bayern Munich would want for about 15 to 20 million, when you can get Adrian Rabiot for a free, that's why I wouldn't sign Sabitzer, plus his injury record. So I'd definitely go for a player like Rabiot over Sabitzer. But I really appreciate what Sabitzer did. He came in when needs be. Eriksen was injured. But, you know, he did all right. And that's all I've got to say. Did score some good goals for us. Obviously, think back to the Seville game in the Europa League. Sabitzer had a decent period of time at Manchester United. Well, anyway, let's get on to the big boys. Let's get on to the season ratings. So here I have every single player, and I'm going to list them all. So is anyone in the comments yet? Is anyone putting in the comments? No. So if you don't be shy, we've got 5 viewers right now. Please put in comments and say what you're thinking. But anyway, Season ratings. David De Gea, for me, gets a 5. Actually, oh, God. He won Golden Glove. No, I'm going to give him a 6. I'm going to give David De Gea a 6. Got Golden Glove. Massive achievement for any goalkeeper. But he cost us games. He has been found out this season that he's not a very good modern-day goalkeeper, and a lot of the fans are turning on him. I like David De Gea, and I always respect him as a club hit, as a club legend. But for me, his time is up. And we're only going to go through the main players, obviously, like the Tom Heatons and all these players. They aren't involved. So we'll go to right backs. Wan-Bissaka and Diogo Dalot. Both of them, for me, get 8s. Diogo Dalot, especially for the start of the season, he was a 10 out of 10 fullback, probably the best in the league, in my opinion. Then he got injured, World Cup happened, he never got that form back. Wan-Bissaka stepped up, and he looked like he was out of the club. He looked like he wasn't part of Erik Ten Hag plans. And then all of a sudden, he drops performance after performance after performance. And Wan-Bissaka was absolutely brilliant for us at the end of the season. From January to the end of the season, Wan-Bissaka was absolutely crucial for us, in my opinion. Centre-backs, we've got Varane, Martinez, which we've already done, Harry Maguire, and Victor Lindelof. Varane, for me, gets a 7. Maguire, for me, gets a 6. And Lindelof, for me, gets a 7. Varane, I felt like that's been our main centre-back all season when he's not been injured, and especially after coming back after injury towards the end of the season. I felt like he did all right. So for me, Varane gets a 7. Lindelof for me also gets a 7, not for the start of the season, but when we've needed him, when Martinez got injured, I'd honestly say he put in consistent 8 out of 10 performances. He was absolutely brilliant. But because he didn't play for the full season, I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10. It makes full sense in my head. That's my logic. Harry Maguire as well. Average player. I like Harry Maguire, but I just feel like Manchester United is not the place for him. I don't think it's the quality that he possesses is suited for Manchester United. I do like Harry Maguire, and I do wish him all the best, whichever club he does go to. But at the end of the day, I personally feel like that Harry Maguire just is a player that needs to go, and that's just my opinion. Left backs, we've already mentioned Tyrone Malacia, but Luke Shaw. Now, Luke Shaw for me, I'm going to give a 7. I felt like Luke Shaw was pretty much one of the most consistent left backs in the Premier League this season. He did have a rough patch at the start of the season, and Malacia did take over his position. But then Luke Shaw eventually got back into the squad. He played left centre-back at times. He played left-back. He was absolutely brilliant for the remainder of the season, in my opinion, with Luke Shaw. And I think that he's a very good player, and we're lucky to have him. That's what I have to say. Casemiro, we've already mentioned. Now onto the midfield. We have Tomine, Fred, obviously Roger Eriksson, Sabitzer, Bruno Fernandes. I'm pretty sure that's everyone. I might have missed someone out. It might come to my Matsime, but I feel like they're the only players. But McTominay, for me, I'm going to give him a 4. I just feel like that when he did play, he had that one good game, and I can't remember which team it was against, but we played him at Old Trafford, and it was after international break when he did really well for Scotland, and he scored, and he was doing well for us. But the fact that he's hardly had to have a look in this team, for me, McTominay just isn't at it, and maybe he needs to go. But with a team like Newcastle, I do rate McTominay, I really do. And I just feel like a lot of the fan base have turned on him because of the McFred days, and same with Fred as a player as well. They're very disliked players because when they have played in recent seasons, they haven't been at their best. So for me, I personally feel like with Scott McTominay and Fred, they both deserve 4s. Actually, no, Fred gets a 5, in my opinion. But for me, for them both, I feel like a move away is the better option. Maybe keep one of them for next season, just while we're still rebuilding. But I would not be surprised in the next season or next 2 seasons we see one of them go, or both of them go, because United need to progress quickly and we need investment fast. Bruno Fernandes. I'm giving Bruno Fernandes an 8 out of 10. He's played practically every single game. I think he actually has. I think he's, apart from suspension, he's played at every single game. Missed none due to injury. He's been absolutely brilliant. Consistency, he's not been at his best. And this is probably one of Bruno's lowest goals and assist seasons. But at the end of the day, I personally feel like with Bruno Fernandes, he has done really well. And the consistency you cannot deny. So for me, you've got to reward that with an 8 out of 10. Forwards, I might have missed. I feel like I'm missing someone in the midfield. If I am, I apologise. Please let me know in the comments down below. But as well, let's just look at something else. Forwards, Jadon Sancho for me gets a 4 out of 10. I felt like that when he has played, been terrible. That's just my opinion. But as well, I personally feel like that with Jadon Sancho, you need to explore him on the right-hand side. And that's all you've got to do. Explore him on the right-hand side, let him learn that position. And then if you want to then develop him and make him learn other positions, then let him do that. But let him lock down. Stop changing him, Ten Hag, from left wing to right wing, left wing to right wing. He can't then build any consistency off them on them positions. So there are two different positions for Sancho. On the left wing, Sancho is a lot more inverted and normally intends to go for a shot. But on the right wing, he gets a lot more space. He gets to come off short off the ball. He gets to cut inside and get in behind. He creates a lot more. And he's more bound to it being more, it will look more creative up front because United this season, despite us getting third place, we haven't scored enough goals. And people say that's due to the lack of the goal scorer. I think that's because we don't actually create enough. That's just my opinion. I feel like that Marcus Rashford getting 31 goals in all competitions this season is absolutely exceptional. I think he's got something like 42 goal contributions in all competitions as well with like assists and everything. You cannot deny what Marcus Rashford's done. But for me, that's my issue with Jadon Sancho. And he gets a 4 out of 10. I just think of how inconsistent he's actually been. And don't forget, he had that massive chunk out of the season that he missed due to mental illness. But that was what was reported anyway. Antony, we've already done. Martial, I'm giving a 2. I feel like that. I like Martial, but injuries after injuries after injuries. Like pre-season, Rashford, Sancho, and Martial looked to be a dominant front three. We battered Liverpool 4-0 in pre-season with that front three, and they looked brilliant. Martial couldn't stay fit. Sancho was just inconsistent, and Marcus Rashford was the only consistent forward. But we're going to speak about Marcus Rashford in a moment. And finally, obviously, Marcus Rashford, let's just give him a rating. I'm going to give him a 9 out of 10. And I feel like the top players that you have to rate this season is going to have to be Bruno Fernandes, Casemiro, Lisandro Martinez, and Marcus Rashford. In no particular order, they for me are the best 4 players. They're the best players. I wanted to do a top 5, but I feel like that they're the standout players this season, and 2 of them being new signings. So I feel like they're the players to watch out for this season. But I tell a lie. This is the 5th player, and it's a player with his breakthrough season, the one and only Alejandro Garnacho. Now, Alejandro Garnacho had his breakout season this season, and he was absolutely brilliant. And I look forward to seeing him develop under Erik Ten Hag. I look forward to seeing what he brings to the team next season. Don't be surprised if Alejandro Garnacho next season is a starting player. At the start of the season, I won't be surprised if it gradually takes him to build up into the team. But we'll get towards the end of the season, I would not be surprised in the slightest if Manchester United have Alejandro Garnacho as a main starter. Don't be surprised. He has limitless potential. He is exciting. He's raw. And I look forward to seeing what Erik Ten Hag's plan is for him. But anyway, guys, thank you for everyone that's watched today. I really appreciate it. So yeah, make sure you leave a like on the stream if you are new. And yeah, honestly, thank you everyone who has tuned in. I really appreciate everyone who has. And yeah, thank you for watching. And I will see you all in the next one. Actually, no, we'll be live at 7:30 p.m. tonight for a show. So stay tuned for that as always. But anyway, thank you for everyone that's watched. And I'll see you all in the next one. But take care, guys. Have a good night.